Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into the unrelenting suspense of Edward Freeman's gripping dark fantasy, The Forgotten Cloister. We aren't doing any slow build-up here, guys. We are diving right into the mystery to experience a story where the shadows quite literally feed on your deepest regrets.
So picture this. A protagonist, Catherine, who goes by Kate, is a quiet restorer of ancient texts living right on the edge of Greystone Village. It's the dead of night, there's a massive storm raging outside, and she suddenly receives this mysterious humming ebony box from a tattered, uninvited stranger. Inside, an obsidian seal etched with glowing runes, and the warning that comes with it is just chilling. The cloister awaits. Enter, or the Forgotten will find you. I mean, what would you do? Naturally, Kate opens the box, touches the seal, and that single action sets off a chain reaction of pure nightmare.
Section 1. The lore. Let's unveil this nightmare. Desperate for answers, Kate heads straight to Greystone University, where Professor Elian Brandt gives her a pretty grim definition of what she's dealing with. The Cloister of Lament isn't just some physical place you can map out. It's a cursed realm overlapping our own reality. And here's the absolutely crucial part. It acts as a feeding ground for a terrifying, shadowy entity known simply as the Unseen. But it doesn't just pull random people into its grasp. No, it specifically targets and hunts people based on the painful secrets, the grief, and the deep regrets they're hiding.
This really illustrates just how trapped Kate truly is, because she's now bound by the strict rules of this realm. First, the cloister is awakened by touching the obsidian seal, which, Kate already did. Second, it feeds on buried guilt and despair. Third, it's controlled entirely by the unseen, and fourth, it consumes those who fail to face their truths. Because she touched that seal, Kate is officially marked. Almost immediately, her reality just warps around her, and she is dragged from her home into a twisted, ash-filled, fractured version of Greystone Village.
Moving on to the descent into this fractured world.
Trapped in this shifting, labyrinth-like nightmare, Kate meets two other survivors, Adrian and Mira. And these two perfectly capture the story's core theme. Your regrets will either consume you, or they'll force you to fight back. Take Adrian, for example. He's completely consumed by guilt over his stolen art. The psychological torment is just too much for him, so he gives up and literally allows the mirrors of the cloister to swallow him whole, turning him into an empty shell, one of the Forgotten. But then, totally on the flip side, you have Mira. She is fiercely defiant. She's out there fighting the shadows with a rusted metal rod, absolutely refusing to surrender to her past. It's a really stark psychological contrast of how we handle our own personal demons.
And Kate has to make that exact same choice. In a terrifying, ever-shifting location called the Hall of Mirrors, the cloister forces Kate to confront her absolute deepest shame, the painful memory of abandoning her sick sister, Emily, at the hospital. The Unseen tries to use this guilt to completely break her, but instead of breaking like Adrian did, Kate fights back. She and Mira frantically gather these shattered glowing mirror fragments from the floor, use them to empower the obsidian seal, and blast the Unseen with this blinding wave of light.
Which brings us to bargaining with shadows.
So the realm forcefully shifts again, right? It drops Kate and Mira into a sprawling wasteland of black sand, which is dotted with these glowing green monoliths. When Kate touches one of them, she gets a shocking vision that reveals the true cycle of the cloister. Get this, it was actually Professor Brandt who made a desperate deal with the Unseen years ago. That selfish deal birthed the cloister as a place of endless torment. The obsidian seal, it acts as the anchor for the realm's immense power. And suddenly, Kate realizes she was drawn here specifically to break this cycle. The very man who warned her in the library is the one who started the whole shebang.
Okay, so how do they actually break it? They realize they have to destroy the green monoliths that are anchoring the realm's power. What follows is a chaotic, escalating action sequence. First, Mira desperately distracts the towering, monstrous form of the Unseen. She's taking severe hits just to keep its attention. Meanwhile, Kate runs, frantically scrambles, from structure to structure, slapping the glowing seal directly onto the monoliths. Then they just have to brace and absorb the massive, deafening shockwaves as each monolith shatters. They're systematically dismantling the cloister's power source while literally dodging writhing shadow limbs.
Now for the ultimate sacrifice.
After a desperate escape, the obsidian seal shatters completely, dropping our duo into a brand new trial, a towering, black obsidian spire that is actively trying to rebuild the nightmare realm from scratch. It's drawing its energy from Mira's lingering fears. Mira realizes they can't stop it fighting from the outside, so to weaken the spire, she makes an unthinkable, heartbreaking choice. She willingly surrenders to the shadows. She lets the darkness consume her, dissolving piece by piece just to sap the spire's energy from the inside out.
As she fades away into the dark, completely consumed by the shadows, Mira whispers these two final words: "Thank you." It is an absolute emotional gut punch. She sacrifices herself so that Kate can live. Fueled by Mira's sacrifice and the raw pain of her loss, Kate unleashes the power that's now building within her, and she completely shatters the Black Spire, silencing the cloister's physical realm.
Finally, the aftermath and the endless cycle.
Kate wakes up alone in a serene, sunlit forest. The dark, shifting geometry of the cloister is gone. The nightmare seems over, right? Well, here is the profound thematic twist: the burden of power. You see, the cloister cannot simply be killed. Why? Because it's a force fueled by human pain and regret, not just a physical location. When that seal shattered, its dark energy didn't just vanish into thin air. It transferred directly into Kate. She is now the new living vessel for the cloister's immense power. Professor Brandt's spirit appears one last time to tell her she must choose: master this power or let the terrible cycle restart and consume others all over again.
And that leaves us with such a provocative question. If you were handed the power of the cloister, would you be its destroyer or its new guardian? Edward Freeman's story brilliantly uses dark fantasy to hold a mirror up to our own lives. We all carry regrets, guilt, and painful memories. The Forgotten Cloister shows us we can either let those regrets consume us, turning us into empty shells, or we can carry them forward, master them, and consciously choose what we build from them next. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer through the shadows, and keep exploring.